Before we begin, I want you to do something for me. Look to your left. Now look to your right. Take note of everyone around you, the people you trust, the people you love, the people you share your life with. Now ask yourself, how much of their life exists outside your perception? When you're at work, they're living hours you'll never witness. When you're asleep, they're awake, thinking thoughts you'll never know. We like to believe we know our loved ones completely. That intimacy means understanding. That marriage means unity. But the truth is, we only know the parts they choose to show us, the parts that exist in our presence. Welcome to After Dark Horrors. My name is Marcus, and I've been collecting these stories for 7 years now. Not ghost stories, not urban legends, real accounts from real people who discovered that the person sleeping next to them was living a secret life. And not a fair secret, not addiction secret, something far more disturbing, something that makes you question the nature of consciousness itself. Tonight's account is particularly disturbing because it comes with evidence, hours of video footage, audio recordings, medical documents. The man who sent this to me, we'll call him James, wanted people to know. He needed witnesses, because what happened to his family challenges our understanding of sleep, of memory, and of the boundaries between one person's mind and another's. James thought he had the perfect life. Suburban home, 2 beautiful children, a wife he'd been in love with since college. But 6 weeks ago, his wife Sarah began sleepwalking. What started as a quirky nighttime habit became something far more sinister when he discovered where she was going, what she was doing, and who or what she was meeting in the darkness. So dim your lights, lock your doors, and if you're watching this in bed next to someone you love, try not to wake them. Because after hearing the story, you'll never watch them sleep the same way again. This is After Dark Horrors, where the real nightmares begin after dark. My name is James Mitchell. I'm 34 years old. Before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand what life was like before, because context matters. The height of the fall matters. I met Sarah in college, State University, 2010. She was in my advanced programming logic class, which was weird because she was an English major. Turned out she'd registered for the wrong class, but decided to stick it out rather than admit the mistake. That tells you everything about Sarah. Stubborn, proud, committed to seeing things through. I was the teaching assistant. She came to my office hours every week. Not because she was struggling, she was actually brilliant at it. That English major brain seeing patterns in code that comp sci majors missed, but because, as she told me 3 months later when we had our first kiss, she thought my explanations were adorably overcomplicated. We dated for 3 years, got married the summer after graduation. Everyone said we were too young, but when you know, you know. Sarah got a job at a publishing house. I started at a tech company doing back-end development. We bought a crappy apartment in Queens that had mice and a radiator that sounded like it was dying. We named the mice Gerald and Francine. Sarah wrote them backstories. Gerald was a failed Broadway performer. Francine was a socialite, fallen on hard times. That was Sarah. She could find whimsy in anything. Emma came along in 2018, unplanned but not unwelcome. Sarah bloomed in motherhood. She had this way of entering Emma's world completely. They'd have tea parties where Sarah would commit to elaborate personas. Lady Whistlebottom, Duchess Sparkleshine. She never broke character, never did that adult thing of half-heartedly playing along while scrolling her phone. Lucas arrived in 2020, right as the world was falling apart. Pandemic, baby. Those were hard months. Sarah struggled with postpartum depression. I was working from home, trying to juggle Zoom calls while Emma had meltdowns, and Lucas screamed. But we survived it. We came out stronger. By 2023, we'd saved enough to leave the city. Found a house in West Grove, Connecticut. 4 bedrooms, big backyard, good schools. The American dream, or close enough. I got promoted to senior developer. Sarah started freelance editing from home. We had game nights on Fridays, pizza and movies on Saturdays, Sunday farmers markets where Sarah would buy too many tomatoes and attempt ambitious recipes that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand. We were happy. Genuinely, boringly, wonderfully happy. The kind of happy that doesn't make for interesting stories, no dark secrets, no hidden resentments. We had the occasional fight about money or whose turn it was to handle bedtime, but nothing unusual, nothing that would explain what happened. The last normal day was October 14th, 2024, a Monday. I remember because I'd taken the day off for Emma's 8th birthday. We'd gone to Lake Compound's amusement park. Emma rode her first real roller coaster, screamed the entire time, but immediately wanted to go again. Lucas, only 4, stuck to the kiddie rides, but insisted he wasn't scared of the big ones, just saving them for next time. Sarah had packed this elaborate picnic lunch, sandwiches cut into shapes, fruit kebabs, homemade cookies decorated like Emma's favorite anime characters. She'd been up until 3 a.m. the night before, getting everything perfect. That was Sarah. She didn't half-ass anything when it came to the kids. That night, after the kids were in bed, we sat on the couch looking through the day's photos on Sarah's phone. Hundreds of them. Sarah documenting every smile, every moment. "We're good parents," she said suddenly. "Yeah," I agreed. "We are. No, but really good. Look at her face." She showed me a photo of Emma mid-laugh on the carousel. We made her that happy. We built a life where she can be that happy. "Are you okay?" I asked. It wasn't like Sarah to get philosophical. "Just grateful," she said. Sometimes I think about all the different paths my life could have taken, all the different people I could have been, and I'm just grateful this is the path. This is the person I became. She kissed me then. Not a routine married couple peck, but a real kiss. The kind we used to share in college when everything was new. "I love you." "James Mitchell," she said. "I love you too." Sarah Mitchell. We went to bed at 11:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. and did the math on how much sleep I'd get. 7 hours and 43 minutes. Perfect. The last perfect calculation I'd ever make. Section 2. The first sign is October 15th. 2024, Tuesday, 2:17 a.m. I woke to the sound of movement. Not unusual in a house with 2 kids. Someone needing the bathroom or a glass of water. I waited for the footsteps to head towards the kids' bathroom. They didn't. Sarah's side of the bed was empty, the covers pulled back neatly. Too neatly. Sarah was a restless sleeper, usually left the bed, looking like she'd fought a war with the blankets. The footsteps were on the stairs, slow, methodical, a pause on each. Step, step, pause, like someone counting. "Sarah?" I called out softly, not wanting to wake the kids. No response. I got up, threw on the t-shirt I'd left on the chair, and went to the landing. The house was dark except for the nightlight in the hallway, a little elephant that projected stars on the ceiling, Lucas's requirement for nighttime bathroom trips. I could see Sarah at the bottom of the stairs. She was standing in the foyer facing the front door. Her posture was strange, too straight, too still, like a mannequin. She was wearing her pajamas, the silly ones I'd bought her last Christmas with coffee cups, and the phrase, "Okay, but first coffee," repeated in gold script. Her arms hung at her sides. Her head was tilted slightly as if listening to something. "Babe? You okay?" She didn't turn, didn't acknowledge me. After what felt like a full minute, but was probably 30 seconds, she turned, not toward me, but pivoting like she was on a turntable, and walked into the living room. I followed, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. She sat on the couch, the exact center of the middle cushion, placed her hands in her lap, and began making a stroking motion, like petting a cat. We don't have a cat. Never have. Sarah's allergic. I approached slowly. In the dim light from the street lamp filtering through the curtains, I could see her face. Her eyes were open but unfocused, glassy, like she was looking at something 1,000 miles away. Sleepwalking. Had to be. I'd heard about it, obviously. Seen it in movies. But this was my first real encounter with it. I remembered reading that you weren't supposed to wake them. Something about disorientation, potential injury. Sarah, honey, let's go back to bed. I reached for her hand. Her skin was cold. Not freezing, but cooler than it should have been. She stood immediately when I tugged gently, but she brought her hands with her, still making that petting motion in the air. I led her back upstairs. She followed without resistance, her movements mechanical. She got back into bed, pulled the covers up to her chin with that same neat precision, and closed her eyes. I stood there watching her for a few minutes. Her breathing was deep and even, normal sleep breathing, like nothing had happened. The next morning, I woke to the smell of bacon. Sarah was already up making breakfast. The kids were at the table, Emma reading a book, Lucas playing with his dinosaurs, making them fight over a piece of toast. "Morning, sleepyhead," Sarah said, kissing my cheek as I poured coffee. "Want eggs?" "You were sleepwalking last night," I said. "Was I?" She flipped the bacon. "That's weird." "What did I do?" Went downstairs, sat on the couch for a bit. She seemed unconcerned. Must be stress from Emma's party. I always crash after big events. Remember after our wedding? I slept for like 15 hours. This was different. You were petting something, making petting motions with nothing there, she laughed. Maybe I was dreaming about a cat. I've always wanted one. Stupid allergies. Mommy, can we get a hypoallergenic cat? Emma asked, not looking up from her book. That kid never missed anything. We'll see, sweetie. That means no, Lucas informed his dinosaurs solemnly. The conversation moved on. Normal morning chaos, get dressed, pack lunches, find Lucas's other shoe, always under the couch, no matter where he took them off. Drop kids at school. Sarah had a Zoom meeting with a client. I had a code review at 10. Normal. Everything beautifully, wonderfully normal. That night, I was ready. I'd left my phone charging on the nightstand, positioned so I could grab it easily. If she sleepwalked again, I'd record it. Document it. Maybe show it to her doctor if it continued. 17 a.m. exactly. The movement woke me again. This time I was alert immediately. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera app, and followed her. Same path. Down the stairs with those measured pauses. Stop in the foyer facing the door. Stand for exactly 7 minutes. I timed it. Turn to the living room. Sit in the exact same spot. But this time, her hands were empty. She sat there, hands positioned as if holding something small, making that petting motion through empty air. I recorded for 3 minutes before I couldn't stand it anymore. There was something deeply unsettling about the precision of it. The exact repetition, like she was following a script. Sarah, no response. Sarah, there's nothing there. She continued petting the air. I reached out and touched her shoulder. She turned to look at me. Through me, really. Her eyes were focused on something past my shoulder. Shh, she said. Her voice was perfectly normal, which made it worse somehow. You'll scare him. Scare who? The baby. My blood went cold. We'd lost a pregnancy 3 years ago, between Emma and Lucas. We'd never found out the gender, but Sarah had been convinced it was a boy. We'd never really talked about it after. Too painful. Sarah, there's no baby, she smiled. A soft maternal smile. He says you can't see him. He says you're not ready. Who says? She didn't answer, just stood up, still cradling the invisible something, and walked back upstairs. I followed, recording the whole thing. She got back into bed, same neat precision, and resumed sleeping. I sat in bed next to her, reviewing the video. On camera, it looked even more unsettling. The empty arms. The maternal expression directed at nothing. The casual conversation with me about something that wasn't there. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. October 16th, Wednesday. I called in sick to work. First time in 2 years. Told them I had a stomach bug. Really, I spent the day researching sleepwalking, parasomnia, that's the medical term. From the Greek, para, meaning alongside, somnus, meaning sleep. Activities that occur alongside sleep, but aren't supposed to. The internet is a terrible place to research medical conditions. Every symptom leads to cancer or degenerative neurological diseases. But I found legitimate sources, medical journals, sleep study databases. The Mayo Clinic website became my best friend. Common triggers for adult-onset sleepwalking: stress, sleep deprivation, medications, alcohol, underlying medical conditions. Sarah didn't drink much, maybe a glass of wine on weekends. She wasn't on any medications except a multivitamin. She'd been sleeping well as far as I knew. That left stress or something medical. I found a forum for partners of sleepwalkers. The stories were alternately hilarious and terrifying. One woman's husband regularly sleepwalked to the kitchen and made full meals, leaving a disaster for her to find in the morning. Another person's partner would get fully dressed and try to leave for work at 3 a.m. But then there were darker stories. People who became violent, people who hurt themselves. One man whose wife had sleepwalked out of their apartment and been found 3 blocks away in her nightgown, feet bloody from walking barefoot on concrete. But none of them mentioned conversations with invisible entities. None of them mentioned the precise repetition, the exact timing. 17 a.m. Why always 2:17 a.m.? I searched for significance of that time. Found nothing but conspiracy theories and angel number websites. Apparently 2:17 meant your guardian angels were trying to communicate with you. I wasn't a believer in that stuff, but the coincidence made my skin crawl. Sarah came home from dropping the kids at school around 9:30. She had that Wednesday morning yoga class she never missed. Came in glowing with post-workout endorphins, her hair in a messy bun, wearing those ridiculous expensive leggings she'd bought as a self-care investment. "You're home," she said, surprised. "Everything okay?" "Stomach thing," I lied. "Feeling better now, though." She kissed my forehead, checking for fever. Such a mom move. "Want me to make you some soup?" "I'm good." "Hey, can I ask you something weird?" "Always." "Does the time 2:17 mean anything to you?" She thought about it, really considered it. I loved that about Sarah. She took every question seriously, no matter how random. "No, don't think so." "Why? Just had a weird dream about that time. Kept seeing it on clocks. Maybe you're psychic," she teased. "What's going to happen at 2:17? "Hopefully nothing." She made herself a protein smoothie, one of those green things that looked like swamp water, but apparently tasted like peanut butter and banana. I watched her move around the kitchen, so normal, so Sarah. How could this be the same person who sat on our couch at night, petting invisible babies? "I made an appointment with Dr. Morrison," she said suddenly. "Yeah? Everything okay?" "Just a checkup." And I wanted to ask her about the sleepwalking thing. It's probably nothing, but better safe than sorry, right? "Right. When's the appointment?" "Friday afternoon." "Can you pick up the kids?" "Of course." She took her smoothie to her office, the spare bedroom we'd converted when she started freelancing. I heard her on a call with a client, discussing revision notes on some manuscript. Her professional voice, confident, articulate, nothing like the distant, dreamy voice from last night. That evening was normal. Homework battles with Emma, who insisted she didn't need to show her work in math if she got the right answer. Lucas's elaborate bedtime routine that involved checking for monsters in the closet, empty, under the bed, just dust bunnies, and behind the curtain, nothing. Sarah read them Harry Potter while I cleaned up from dinner. We watched 2 episodes of some Netflix show about a chef who solves murders or something. I wasn't really paying attention. I was thinking about 2:17 a.m. We went to bed at 11. Sarah fell asleep immediately, one of her superpowers. I lay there watching the clock on my phone. 11:47, 12:23, 1:15, 1:56. At 2:10, I got up, set up my phone on the dresser, angled to capture the whole room. Started recording, 17 a.m. exactly. Sarah's eyes opened. Not the slow, groggy way people usually wake up. They just opened, fully alert. She sat up, swung her legs out of bed, and stood in one fluid motion, like she was being pulled up by strings. This time, I followed immediately. Same path, same pauses on each stair. But when she got to the foyer, she didn't face the door. She faced the wall. The wall with our family photos, wedding pictures, baby photos. That terrible portrait we'd had taken at the mall where Lucas was mid-scream and Emma was making bunny ears behind his head. She stood there for exactly 7 minutes. I knew because I was counting. Then she turned to the living room, sat in the same spot. But this time, she wasn't petting anything. She was talking. I know, she said. I know you're hungry. Silence, and he won't let me. He doesn't understand silence. You have to be patient. Growing takes time. Silence. No, the other children don't matter. You're the first. You're the special one. My skin was crawling. I moved closer, careful to stay in frame of the camera I'd left running. Sarah, who are you talking to? She didn't look at me. Kept her eyes focused on the empty space in her lap. He wants to know your name, she said. You know my name. I'm James, your husband. He says you're not the right one. You're the replacement. Replacement for what? She tilted her head, listening to something I couldn't hear. He says you wouldn't understand. You didn't love him enough to remember. Remember what? The promise. What promise? She stood up abruptly. Walked to the kitchen. I followed. She opened the cabinet under the sink, where we keep the cleaning supplies, pulled out a bottle of bleach, held it up to the light like she was examining it. Sarah, put that down. She did, immediately. Placed it back exactly where it had been. Closed the cabinet. Walked back upstairs. Got into bed. Closed her eyes. The whole thing had taken exactly 26 minutes. 2:17 to 2:43. I sat on the floor of our bedroom, back against the wall, watching her sleep. Normal sleep. Rim movements behind her eyelids. The occasional soft snore she'd deny in the morning. What the hell was happening to my wife? October 17th, Thursday. I didn't go to work again. Claimed the stomach bug was lingering. My boss was getting annoyed, I could tell from her emails, but I didn't care. I had bigger problems. I spent the morning reviewing the footage from last night. Watching it in daylight made it worse somehow. More real. The way Sarah moved was wrong. Too precise. Too mechanical. Like something was moving her body rather than her moving it herself. I showed the video to Sarah when she got home from morning errands. That's me? She asked, watching herself on my phone screen. That's you. She was quiet for a long time, replaying the part where she talked to the invisible presence. Her face went pale. I said there were other children? You said they don't matter. That he is the first, the special one. James. Her voice was small, scared. I would never say that about Emma and Lucas. Never. They're everything to me. I know. That's why this is so weird. It's like you're someone else entirely. Play it again. I did. She watched herself have a conversation with nothing. Watched herself handle the bleach with that strange, examining gesture. I look possessed, she said quietly. Don't be dramatic. No, I'm serious. Look at my face. That's not my face. I mean, it is, but the expression. I've never made that expression in my life. She was right. There was something different about her face in the video. Older somehow. More angular. Like someone had taken Sarah's features and rearranged them slightly. I'm scared, she admitted. Hey. I pulled her close. It's just sleepwalking, parasomnia. Your brain doing weird things. Dr. Morrison will figure it out tomorrow. What if she doesn't? Then we'll see a specialist. A sleep clinic. Whatever it takes. She nodded against my chest. Don't let me hurt them, the kids. If I try to do something, you won't? But if I do, promise me you'll stop me. Sarah, promise me. I promise. But it won't come to that. That afternoon, while Sarah picked up the kids, I installed cameras everywhere. Living room, kitchen, hallway, even one facing our bed. I linked them all to an app on my phone. If she moved tonight, I'd have every angle covered. I also did something I'm not proud of. I went through Sarah's things, her laptop, her journal, her phone, looking for, I don't know what. Evidence of stress, secret correspondence, signs of a breakdown. I found nothing unusual. Work emails, grocery lists, a text thread with her college friends about planning a reunion. Her journal was mostly mundane. Thoughts about the kids, worries about money, ideas for the novel she'd been saying she'd write someday for the past 5 years. But there was one entry that stood out. From October 1st, 2 weeks before the sleepwalking started, had the dream again. The one with the baby. He's older now, walking, talking. He asks where Daddy is. I tell him Daddy's at work. He says, not that Daddy. My first Daddy. I don't know what to tell him. I wake up feeling guilty, like I've failed someone. But who? The miscarriage was 3 years ago. Why am I dreaming about it now? She'd been having dreams. Prophetic? Or was her subconscious working through something that was now manifesting in her sleepwalking? That evening, I suggested we put the kids to bed early. Sarah agreed. She seemed tired, drained. We tucked them in together, presenting a united front of normalcy. Daddy, will you check for monsters? Lucas asked. I did the routine. Closet, under bed. Behind curtain, all clear, buddy? What about in the walls? What? Sometimes I hear scratching in the walls, like something's trying to get out. Sarah and I exchanged glances. That's just the house settling, Sarah said. Old houses make noise. Our house isn't old, Emma pointed out from her bed across the room. You said it was built in the 80s. That's old for a house, I said. Now sleep, both of you. Can we leave the hall light on? Lucas asked. Sure, buddy. We left their door cracked, the hall light casting a comforting glow into their room. In our own bedroom, Sarah took a long shower. I could hear her crying over the sound of the water. When she came out, her eyes were red, but she smiled at me. I'm okay. Just overwhelmed. We got into bed, held each other. Didn't talk about what might happen at 2:17 a.m. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Whatever happens, remember that. Remember that I love you and the kids more than anything in this world. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to see the doctor tomorrow and get some pills or something, and this will all be a weird story we tell at dinner parties. She laughed, but it was hollow. Oh, yeah. A weird story. So, 17 a.m. came right on schedule. This time, Sarah didn't just get up. She sat bolt upright, like someone had yanked her up by the hair. Her head snapped toward me. Her eyes were open, wide open, but they weren't seeing me. He's coming, she said, in a voice that wasn't quite hers, deeper, older. He's so close now. Can you feel him? Sarah, that's not my name. Not anymore. I'm Mother now. His mother. The first mother? She got out of bed. I followed, my phone in hand, checking the camera feeds. Everything was recording. She didn't go downstairs this time. She went to the kids' room. My heart nearly stopped. I moved quickly, putting myself between her and their door. Sarah, no. She tilted her head at me. That wasn't Sarah's gesture. Sarah didn't tilt her head like that, like a bird examining a worm. They need to meet their brother, she said in that strange voice. They don't have a brother. Not yet. But soon he's been growing, feeding, getting stronger. The veil is so thin now. He can almost push through. Push through from where? She smiled. Not Sarah's smile. Something else wearing Sarah's face. From the place between. Where forgotten children go. Where mother's tears create rivers and father's absences create voids. He's been there so long. 27 years waiting, watching, growing. 27 years. Sarah, you're only 32. Sarah is 32. But I am older. I am every mother who lost a child. Every woman who gave away what she couldn't keep. We are legion, and we want our babies back. She tried to push past me. I held her shoulders. Sarah, wake up. Please wake up. Her eyes focused on me then. Really focused. And for just a second I saw Sarah. My Sarah. Terrified and trapped behind those eyes. James, she whispered in her real voice. Help me. Then she collapsed. fought Sarah before she hit the floor. Her body went completely limp, dead weight in my arms. For a terrifying moment, I thought she was actually dead, but I could feel her breathing, shallow but steady. Sarah? Sarah, can you hear me? Nothing. I carried her back to our bed, laid her down gently. Checked her pulse, rapid but strong. Her skin was clammy, cold sweat beading on her forehead. I grabbed my phone, finger hovering over 911, but then her eyes fluttered open, not the sharp mechanical opening from before. This was slow, confused, human. James? What? Why am I wet? You're sweating. You had an episode. Episode? She tried to sit up, winced. My head is killing me. You were sleepwalking. But different. You were talking about things. Strange things. What kind of things? I hesitated. How do you tell your wife? She claimed to be the collective consciousness of grieving mothers. You said you weren't Sarah. You said you were Mother. You tried to go into the kids' room. Her face went white. Did I hurt them? No, I stopped you. They're fine. Still sleeping. She was quiet for a long moment, then, I think I need to go to the hospital. Now? Now something's wrong with me, James, really wrong. This isn't just sleepwalking. I called Sarah's mother, Margaret. She lived 40 minutes away but came immediately, no questions asked, when I said it was an emergency. She arrived at 3:30 a.m., still in her pajamas with a coat thrown over them. Oh, she said, seeing Sarah pale and shaking on the couch. I'll stay with the kids. The ER at 4 a.m. was surprisingly busy. A man with a bleeding hand wrapped in a dish towel. A teenager who'd apparently attempted some ill-advised skateboard trick. An elderly woman with chest pains who was taken back immediately. Sarah filled out forms with trembling hands. Under reason for visit, she wrote, parasomnia, altered mental state during sleep. We waited 2 hours. Sarah dozed on my shoulder and I watched her carefully, irrationally afraid she'd start sleepwalking right there in the waiting room. Finally, a tired-looking resident called us back, Dr. Chen, according to his badge. He couldn't have been older than 28, but his eyes had that exhausted wisdom all medical residents develop. So, sleepwalking with unusual behaviors, he said, reading the intake form. How long has this been happening? 4 nights, I said, but getting progressively worse. Any history of sleepwalking? No. Recent stress, trauma, changes in medication? Sarah shook her head to all of it. She had an appointment with her regular doctor tomorrow, today, I guess. But after tonight, tell me exactly what happened tonight. I described it. Sarah claiming to be someone else. The attempt to go to the kids' room. The collapse. Dr. Chen took notes, his expression growing more concerned. Have you experienced any missing time during the day? Confusion? Memory problems? No, Sarah said. During the day, I'm completely normal. It's only at night, and only at exactly 2:17 a.m. Every night at the same time? Exactly the same time. He frowned. That's unusual. Sleepwalking episodes don't typically follow such precise patterns. I'd like to run some tests, blood work, to check for any imbalances, infections, a CT scan to rule out any neurological issues. You think something's wrong with my brain? Sarah's voice was small. I think we need to rule out physical causes. Temporal lobe epilepsy can cause unusual behaviors. So can certain types of migraines, infections, even some vitamin deficiencies. They took Sarah for tests. I sat in the waiting area, scrolling through my phone. I'd brought the videos, but hadn't shown them to the doctor. Something held me back. Maybe I was afraid they'd think we were crazy, or maybe I was afraid they wouldn't. I Googled 2:17 a.m. significance again. This time I found something I'd missed before, a Reddit thread on R Paranormal about thin times, specific times when the boundary between our world and others was supposedly weaker. 2:17 a.m. was mentioned, so was 3:33 a.m. and 11:11 p.m. The thread was full of the usual internet nonsense, but one comment made me pause. My grandmother always said 2:17 a.m. was when lost things try to find their way home. Oh, she'd never explain what that meant. But she'd never let us kids be awake at that time, said it wasn't safe, that things that were supposed to stay lost might follow us back. Mr. Mitchell? Dr. Chen was back. His expression was puzzled. Your wife's tests are interesting. Interesting how? Her blood work shows elevated levels of HCG. What's that? Human chorionic gonadotropin. It's the pregnancy hormone. My stomach dropped. She's pregnant? That's what we thought. But the ultrasound shows no signs of pregnancy. And the levels are wrong anyway. They're far too high for early pregnancy, but inconsistent with later stages. We usually only see levels like this in cases of molar pregnancy or certain cancers, but the imaging rules those out. So what does it mean? Honestly, we don't know. I've consulted with the attending physician. We'd like to admit her for observation, run more tests. Maybe bring in an endocrinologist. What do I tell her? The truth? That we're seeing an unusual hormonal anomaly that we need to investigate. They admitted Sarah to the medical floor, a private room, which was a small mercy. She looked tiny in the hospital bed, wires attached for monitoring, an IV for fluids. Pregnant, she said, staring at the ceiling, but not pregnant. They'll figure it out. What if they don't? What if this is something medicine can't explain? Everything has an explanation. She turned to look at me. Does it? James, I've been thinking the things I supposedly said about 27 years, about being mothers who lost children. You were asleep. It was dream logic. Was it? Because I've been having dreams for weeks about a baby, a little boy, and in the dreams, he's mine, but he's also not mine. He belongs to someone else, but that someone else is also me. Does that make sense? No. Exactly. None of this makes sense. But what if that's the point? What if sense, logic, reason, medical explanation, what if that's not the right framework for understanding this? Then what is? She was quiet for a moment. I don't know. But James, I'm scared. I'm scared that at 2:17 a.m. tonight, even here, even with all these monitors and nurses, I'm going to get up. And I'm scared of where I might go. I stayed with Sarah all day. Margaret kept the kids, told them Mommy wasn't feeling well and needed to rest at the hospital. Emma was worried but accepted it. Lucas was harder to convince. Is Mommy going to die? He asked Margaret over FaceTime. No, sweetheart. Mommy just needs the doctors to help her feel better. The scratching in the walls got louder last night, he said. Maybe that's why Mommy's sick. Margaret looked confused, but I knew what he meant. I'd heard it too lately, a sound I'd attributed to mice or squirrels in the attic. But now, Dr. Morrison, Sarah's regular physician, came by in the afternoon. She was a competent, no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd been Sarah's doctor since we moved to Connecticut. The blood work is certainly unusual, she said, reviewing the charts. I've never seen HCG levels like this without a clear cause. I've ordered additional tests. We're checking for rare tumors, autoimmune conditions, even some exotic infections. But Sarah, I need to ask, is there any chance at all, that you could have been pregnant recently and miscarried without knowing? No, Sarah said. James and I haven't. I mean, not in the last month. We've been too exhausted with the kids and work. It was true. Our sex life had taken a hit lately, something we'd laughed about as a cliche of parenthood. What about medications, supplements? Anything new? Just the same multivitamin I've taken for years. Any chance you could have accidentally ingested something? The kids' medications? Cleaning products? No, I'm careful about that stuff. Dr. Morrison made notes. We'll keep investigating. In the meantime, the neurologist wants to do an EEG tonight. Monitor your brain activity during sleep. At 2:17 a.m., we'll monitor all night, but yes, we'll pay special attention to that time since you've mentioned the pattern. They attached electrodes to Sarah's scalp that evening, 23 of them held in place with conductive gel and tape. She looked like something out of a science fiction movie. Sexy, she said, trying to joke. Very. I've always had a thing for cyborgs. We tried to keep the mood light, watched stupid videos on my phone, played 20 questions, anything to avoid talking about what might happen in a few hours. At 11 p.m., the nurse suggested I go home, get some rest. I refused. They brought me a recliner, a pillow, a thin hospital blanket. I settled in for the night watch. Sarah fell asleep around midnight. Natural sleep, the EEG technician confirmed from his monitoring station down the hall. Normal sleep patterns? I watched the clock on the wall. Digital red numbers glowing in the dim room. 15 a.m., 1:47 a.m., 2:05 a.m., 2:16 a.m. I held my breath. 17 a.m. Sarah's eyes opened, but this time the machines caught everything. Her heart rate spiked from 60 to 140 instantly. The EEG went crazy, lines spiking and falling in patterns I couldn't interpret. An alarm started beeping. Sarah sat up despite the wires attached to her head. Several pulled free, adding more alarms to the cacophony. She turned her head toward me, and her expression was that alien thing again. Not Sarah. You brought me to a place of science, she said in that deeper voice. But science cannot measure what I am. The nurse rushed in, followed by the EEG tech. Ma'am, you need to lie back down. Sarah, or whatever was using Sarah's voice, laughed. Ma'am, such formality. I remember when they called me girl, when they called me nothing at all, when they took him from my arms and gave me papers to sign. Sarah, I said, standing. Sarah, can you hear me? She hears you. She's screaming your name. But I'm louder now. I've been feeding on her guilt, her fear, her love. All mother's guilt, all mother's fear. We are the same, she and I, separated by time but united in loss. The nurse was calling for backup. The EEG tech was trying to reattach the electrodes. Sarah stood up from the bed, and I saw something impossible. Her stomach was swelling, not gradually, rapidly, like time-lapse footage of a pregnancy. Second by second, her belly grew beneath the hospital gown. The monitors went insane. What's happening? The nurse shouted. He's coming, Sarah, not Sarah, said. My baby is finally coming home. Security arrived. Two large men who looked completely out of their depth. Dr. Chen rushed in, took one look at Sarah's distended belly, and started barking orders. Get OB down. Here now, portable ultrasound, check for uterine rupture. But Sarah wasn't in distress. She was smiling, hands on her swollen belly, looking down at it with pure maternal love. Can you feel him? She asked me. Your son? Our son? He's been waiting so long. The ultrasound machine arrived. They got Sarah back on the bed somehow. She didn't resist, seemed amused by all the fuss. Dr. Chen ran the probe over her belly, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and fear. That's not possible. What? I pushed closer to see the screen. It showed a baby, full term, moving. But there was something wrong with the image. The baby was there and not there, solid and transparent, real and impossible. There's no amniotic fluid, Dr. Chen said. No placenta. No, this doesn't make sense. It's like the image is burned into the screen, but there's nothing actually there. Oh, he's there, Sarah said. He's just not here. Not yet. But soon. The veil is so thin at 2:17. That's when she gave birth to him. That's when she gave him away. That's when I lost him. We lost him. All of us lost him. Who? I grabbed her hand. Who lost him? She looked at me with those eyes that weren't Sarah's. Sarah Matthews, April 4th, 1997, 2:17 a.m., gave birth to a boy. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Black eyes. The nurses were afraid of those eyes. The adoptive parents came at 2:17 a.m. the next night, took him away at exactly 2:17. Everything important happens at 2:17. Sarah Matthews. Why did that name sound familiar? But I'm not Sarah Matthews, my Sarah said in her own voice, suddenly breaking through. I'm Sarah Coleman. Mitchell. I've never had a baby before Emma. Haven't you? The other voice returned. Are you sure? Memory is such a fragile thing. So easy to suppress, to forget, to bury. But the body remembers. The body always remembers. The swelling was reducing now, slowly deflating like air being let out of a balloon. The ultrasound showed the baby, or the image of the baby, fading. No, not Sarah cried out. Not again? I won't lose him again. She convulsed. Her back arched off the bed. The EEG electrodes that were still attached showed massive seizure activity. Dr. Chen called for anti-seizure medication. They pushed something into her IV. Sarah went limp. The swelling was gone. Her stomach was flat again under the hospital gown. She was unconscious but breathing. What the hell just happened? One of the security guards asked. Nobody answered because nobody knew. They moved Sarah to the ICU. More monitoring. More tests. The official report would say she had a severe parasomnia episode with associated psychosomatic symptoms. They used words like conversion disorder and mass psychogenic illness, even though she was only one person. But I saw the way the nurses looked at her, the way they whispered when they thought I wasn't listening. They'd seen something that couldn't be explained, something that challenged everything they knew about medicine and reality. Sarah woke up at 6 a.m. Normal, herself, no memory of the night's events. Why am I in the ICU? She asked, confused. I didn't know how to answer. How do you tell someone their body did something impossible? That they housed something impossible? You had a seizure, I said. It was easier than the truth, a seizure. But I'm not epileptic. They're running more tests. She accepted this. Had to. What else could she do? But I couldn't accept it. I kept thinking about the name, Sarah Matthews. 1997. I had to know. While Sarah rested, I went to the hospital's Family Resource Center. They had computers for public use. I searched for Sarah Matthews, Connecticut. 1997, I found her. Sarah Matthews lived in Waterbury, Connecticut, about an hour from us. According to her Facebook profile, she was a real estate agent, married, 3 kids. Her profile picture showed a woman with dark hair and green eyes. She looked nothing like my Sarah, except there was something in the expression, the way she smiled, the tilt of her head. It was uncanny. I went deeper. Found old newspaper archives. The Waterbury Republican-American, April 5th, 1997. Teen mother gives baby for adoption. A story of sacrifice and love. Sarah Matthews, 17, made the difficult decision to give her newborn son to a loving family through the Sacred Heart Adoption Agency. I want him to have opportunities I can't give him, Matthews said. The closed adoption was finalized yesterday morning. There was a photo. Young Sarah Matthews looking exhausted but resolved. And she looked exactly like my Sarah at 17. Not similar, exact. Like looking at my Sarah's high school yearbook photos, I dug deeper. Found Sarah Matthews High School, Waterbury Central. My Sarah went to Madison High, 2 towns over. They would have been in school at the same time, but there's no way they knew each other. Different districts, different social circles. But the resemblance was undeniable. I found more. Sarah Matthews' son, the one she gave up, was adopted by the Chen family from Stamford, Michael and Patricia Chen. They died in a car accident in 2007 when their adopted son was 10. The boy, Timothy Chen, survived the initial crash but died 3 days later in the hospital. Cause of death was listed as complications from trauma, but one news report mentioned something odd. The boy had been found unconscious, but physically unharmed. He simply wouldn't wake up. And when he finally did, 3 days later, he spoke once, asked for his real mother, and then died, 17 a.m. Time of death. My hands were shaking. This couldn't be coincidence, but it also couldn't be real. The dead don't come back. They don't possess people who look like their birth mothers. That's horror movie stuff, not real life. I needed to talk to Sarah Matthews. I composed an email through her real estate website, Professional Vague. Ms. Matthews, I'm reaching out regarding a personal matter involving events from 1997. This may sound strange, but I believe you might be able to help my family with a medical situation. Would you be willing to speak with me? It's urgent. I included my phone number and hit send before I could reconsider. My phone rang 20 minutes later. Unknown Connecticut number. Is this James Mitchell? A woman's voice, professional but wary. Yes? Sarah Matthews? What's this about? How do you know about 1997? This is going to sound insane, but please hear me out. My wife, also named Sarah, is in the hospital. She's been having episodes. During these episodes, she talks about giving up a baby in 1997. Your baby. Timothy. Long silence. Then, who are you really? Is this some kind of sick joke? I can send you videos, medical records. My wife looks exactly like you did at 17. And something is happening to her at exactly 2:17 a.m. every night. The same time Timothy was born. The same time he died. Another silence. This is impossible, I know, but I'm desperate. My wife is sick and medicine can't explain it. Please, just meet with me. 1 hour. If you think I'm crazy, you can leave, and I'll never contact you again. She agreed to meet. A coffee shop in Waterbury. Public. Safe. That afternoon, I told Sarah I was going home to check on things, get fresh clothes. She was stable, tired, wanting to sleep. The doctors were running more tests, waiting for results. I kissed her forehead and left. The drive to Waterbury was the longest hour of my life. Every mile I questioned what I was doing, chasing ghost stories, following impossible threads. But what else could I do? Sarah Matthews was already at the coffee shop when I arrived. I recognized her immediately from her photos, but in person, the resemblance to my Sarah was even more unsettling. Not in the features, those were different enough, but in the mannerisms, the way she stirred her coffee, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear. You're him, she said. It wasn't a question. I'm James Mitchell. No, I mean, you look like him. Like Timothy's father. My blood went cold. I've never met you before, I know, but you look exactly like him. David Reeves, my boyfriend in high school. Same eyes, same jaw, same way of holding yourself, she laughed, but it was bitter. This is insane. I'm sitting here with a stranger who looks like my high school boyfriend talking about my dead son who was given up for adoption 27 years ago. Does the time 2:17 mean anything to you? Her face went white. How do you know about that? Know about what? Timothy was born at 2:17 a.m. The adoption papers were signed at 2:17 p.m. The family took him at 2:17 a.m. the next night. Everything happened at 2:17. The social worker joked it was his lucky number. She laughed bitterly. Some luck. He died at 2:17 a.m. in that hospital. My Sarah's episodes happened at exactly 2:17 a.m. You're Sarah. Show me a picture. I pulled out my phone, showed her our family photo from last Christmas. Sarah Matthews stared at it for a long moment. She looks like me, she said quietly. Like me now? But that's... Lots of people look alike. Look at this. I showed her a photo from Sarah's high school yearbook I'd photographed. Sarah Matthews gasped. That's my junior year photo. But it's not. The background is different. The clothes are different. But the face, they're identical. This isn't possible. I know. But it's happening. And during her episodes, my Sarah claims to be a mother who lost her child. She knows details about your life. About Timothy. Sarah Matthews was quiet for a long moment, staring at the photos. Can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone? I nodded. Timothy wasn't normal. Even as a newborn, there was something different. His eyes were completely black. No whites, no iris, just black. The doctors said it was a rare condition, but they couldn't name it. The adoptive family called me once when he was 3, said he knew things he couldn't know. He described me perfectly, down to a birthmark on my shoulder he'd never seen. He knew my maiden name, my parents' names, where I lived. They were frightened of him. What did you do? Nothing. It was a closed adoption. I wasn't supposed to have contact. But then, when he was 5, I got a call. Middle of the night. It was him, this 5-year-old boy. He said, Mama, why did you give me away? I don't know how he got my number. I changed it the next day. Did you ever see him? Once, when he was 7, I was at a mall in Stanford, shopping. And there he was, standing at the end of an aisle staring at me. Those black eyes. He didn't approach, didn't speak, just watched. I ran. I literally ran out of the mall. That was 3 years before the accident. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through photos. This is the only picture I have of him. The adoptive family sent it before they stopped contact. It was a school photo. A boy, about 8 years old. Asian features from his adoptive parents, but something else too. And his eyes, they weren't black in the photo, but there was something wrong with them. They seemed to look through the camera rather than at it. After he died, Sarah continued, I started having dreams. Dreams where he was older, teenager, adult, still with those black eyes. He'd ask me why I forgot him, why I replaced him with my other children. I had therapy for years. The dreams finally stopped about 5 years ago. When did they stop exactly? She thought. October 2019. I remember because it was right after my daughter's birthday party. October 15th. 5 years ago. The same date my Sarah's sleepwalking started this year. There's more, Sarah Matthews said. And this is why I agreed to meet you. Last week, the dream started again. But this time, he's not talking to me. He's talking to someone else. Someone who looks like me but isn't me. He calls her new mama and says she's going to help him come back. We sat in that coffee shop for 3 hours, comparing dates, details, impossibilities. Sarah Matthews' son Timothy had been born at 2:17 a.m. on April 4th, 1997. My Sarah would have been 7 years old, living 3 towns away with no connection to Sarah Matthews or her baby. But did you ever have any procedures done? I asked. Medical procedures? Around the time of the birth? Sarah Matthews frowned. Actually, yes. I hemorrhaged after delivery. Needed a transfusion. 2 units of blood. Why? My Sarah had surgery when she was 7. Appendectomy, April 5th, 1997. The day after Timothy was born. She would have been in the hospital. In Connecticut. Possibly even the same hospital, Waterbury General. That's where Sarah had her appendectomy. We stared at each other. Blood, Sarah Matthews said quietly. I donated blood in high school. Part of a drive. They said it was rare, O-negative, universal donor. My Sarah was O-negative. You think? You think she got my blood? I don't know. Medical records from that far back. But it's possible. A 7-year-old girl needing surgery. O-negative blood from a recent donor. But that's just blood. It doesn't transfer memories, experiences, children. No, I agreed. It doesn't. But what if it did? What if blood carried more than cells and plasma? What if it carried something else? Something that lay dormant for years until activated by the right trigger. Tell me about David, I said. Timothy's father. Sarah Matthews' face darkened. David was intense, brilliant, but strange. He was into occult stuff. Not like a goth kid, but seriously into it. He said his family had gifts. That they could see things others couldn't. I thought it was just teenage dramatics, but when I told him I was pregnant, he said something strange. He said the baby would be special, that it would be a bridge between worlds. He wanted to keep it, said it was destined for great things. When I decided on adoption, he was furious, said I was breaking a chain that had existed for centuries. Then he disappeared, moved away with his family. Never saw him again. What was his last name? Reeves? Yes, David Reeves. Why? I pulled out my phone, did a quick search. Found what I was looking for. An obituary from 2007. David Reeves, 27. Died April 4th at 2:17 a.m. following a brief illness. He is survived by his parents, Margaret and Thomas Reeves, and his sister, Jennifer Reeves Coleman. My Sarah's maiden name. Oh my God, I breathed. What? I showed her the obituary. Jennifer Reeves Coleman is my Sarah's mother. David Reeves was her uncle. Sarah Matthews went pale. So your wife is David's niece? They looked alike. Everyone always commented on it. Same eyes, same bone structure. She even has some of his mannerisms. So Timothy's birth mother and his birth father's niece, who look identical and might have shared blood, are somehow connected? It was insane. The kind of connection that would be laughed out of any scientific journal. But the evidence was mounting. When did David die? Sarah Matthews asked. April 4th, 2007, Timothy's birthday. Same day Timothy went into his final coma at 2:17 a.m. We sat in silence, processing. I need to ask you something, Sarah Matthews said finally. And I need you to be honest. Has your Sarah ever lost a pregnancy? Yes, 3 years ago. Between our two kids, how far along? 12 weeks, boy or girl? We never found out. Sarah was convinced it was a boy, though. She had dreams about him. Sarah Matthews was crying now. Silent tears rolling down her cheeks. In my dreams, Timothy says he tried to come back. 3 times. Once through me, I had a miscarriage 5 years ago. Once through the father's blood, David's family. His sister Jennifer had a stillbirth in 2019, and once through the new mother 3 years ago. Our miscarriage. He's been trying to return. Through bloodlines, through connections, through the women who share my face or David's blood. And now he's found a way. Your Sarah, she's the perfect vessel. My blood from childhood. David's family genetics, a history of loss, and something else. Does she have any abilities? Intuitions? Things she knows without being told? I thought about it. Sarah always knew when the kids were sick before symptoms showed. She'd wake up seconds before they'd cry as babies. She'd known her father was dead before the phone rang with the news. Yes, little things. We joke about it. David's gift. Passed down through blood. Your Sarah is the perfect combination. My body's memory, David's genetic gifts, and her own loss creating a door. A door for Timothy. He's not Timothy anymore. 20 years in whatever place dead children go. He's something else now. Something that remembers being Timothy but isn't anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Your wife is asking for you. She says it's urgent. I have to go. Sarah Matthews grabbed my hand. Be careful. If Timothy, or whatever he's become, is really trying to come through, he won't stop. The connections are too strong now. The door's open. What do I do? I don't know. But James, that thing wearing my son's memory? It's not my son. Whatever comes through, no matter what it looks like or says, it's not the baby I gave birth to. That child died in 2007. What's trying to return is something else wearing his face. I drove back to the hospital in a daze. The pieces were fitting together in a pattern that made no logical sense, but had a terrible internal consistency. Blood memories, genetic gifts. A child who died trying to return through a perfect confluence of connections. When I got to Sarah's room, she was sitting up in bed, fully alert. The doctors were clustered around her, looking at charts, talking in hushed tones. James? She reached for me. Something's happened. What? Dr. Chen stepped forward. We found something unusual in the latest blood work. More unusual than fake pregnancy hormones? Actually, yes. We found chimeric cells. What does that mean? Cells that have different DNA than the rest of Mrs. Mitchell's body. It's rare but not unheard of. Usually happens when someone absorbs a twin in utero, or more commonly, after a blood transfusion or organ donation. My heart stopped. She had a blood transfusion as a child. That could explain it. These foreign cells have been dormant in her body for years, but something has activated them recently. They're reproducing rapidly, particularly in the brain and reproductive organs. That's what's causing the episodes? We think so. The foreign cells are creating a kind of autoimmune response. Her body is fighting itself, and the neurological symptoms are a result. It was a medical explanation, logical, scientific, completely missing the real truth. Can you stop it? Sarah asked. We're going to try immunosuppressants. Calm down the immune response. The foreign cells should return to dormancy. Should, maybe, hopefully, but I knew better. This wasn't just cellular. This was something deeper, something that medical science couldn't touch. That night, I stayed with Sarah again. The immunosuppressants were started. She was monitored continuously. At 2:16 a.m., I watched her vital signs on the monitors. Normal, steady. 17. Ma'am, nothing. She remained asleep. The monitors stayed calm. AM, still nothing. Had we done it? Had the medical intervention actually worked? Then Sarah opened her eyes. Not the sharp mechanical opening from before. This was different. She looked directly at me, fully conscious, fully herself. James, she said in her normal voice. He's here. Who's here? Timothy. He's standing right behind you. I turned. Nothing. Empty air. Sarah, there's no one there. He says you can't see him yet. But you will, soon, when the door opens all the way. She was crying. James, I can see him. He's just a little boy, 7 or 8 years old. But his eyes, God, his eyes are so black, and he's so angry. So hungry. Hungry for what? Life. He wants to live again. Through me. Through us. He says we're his real family. The family he should have had. Sarah, fight him. He's not real. He's a memory, a ghost, something, but he's not real. He feels real. He feels like our baby, the one we lost. James, what if he is? What if our miscarriage was him trying to come back? That's not possible. None of this is possible. She was sobbing now, but it's happening. And James, part of me wants to let him. Part of me, the part that got that transfusion, the part that carries her blood, that part wants to be his mother, wants to give him the life he never had. The monitors started alarming. Sarah's vitals were spiking, but this time the nurses didn't rush in because they couldn't. I tried to get up to go to the door, but I couldn't move. It was like the air had thickened, become solid. He's stronger at 2:17, Sarah whispered. That's his time. The time when everything important happens. Birth, death, rebirth. The temperature in the room dropped. My breath came out in clouds. The monitors flickered, their displays corrupting into strange symbols. And then for just a moment, I saw him. He was there and not there, like looking at a photograph through water. A small boy, maybe 8 years old, standing between me and the door. Asian features from his adoptive parents, but something else too. Sarah Matthews' bone structure, David Reeves' intense eyes. Except the eyes were wrong. They were black. Not dark brown, not deep blue that looked black in low light. They were voids, absence of light. Looking at them was like staring into deep space. He smiled at me. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Or rather, the sound came from Sarah. "Hello, Daddy," she said in a child's voice. Not mimicking a child. It was a child's voice coming from her throat. "Do you see me now?" The image flickered and was gone. I could move again. The monitors returned to normal. The temperature rose, and the door burst open as nurses rushed in, responding to the alarms that were somehow delayed. What happened? The lead nurse checked Sarah's vitals manually, not trusting the machines. "Equipment malfunction," I said. What else could I say? That a dead child's ghost had frozen time? They checked everything. ran diagnostics on the monitors. Everything was working perfectly. No explanation for the simultaneous failure of multiple independent systems. Sarah was unconscious but stable. The nurses eventually left, promising to check more frequently. I sat beside her bed holding her hand, afraid to let go, afraid that if I did, something else would take hold. She woke at dawn. Her eyes were her own, warm, brown, confused. Did I have another episode? Yeah, but different. You were conscious. You saw him. She was quiet for a moment, remembering. Timothy. He was here. In the room. I saw him too. For just a second. James. Her voice was small, frightened. I remember things that aren't my memories. I remember giving birth. I remember signing papers. I remember holding a baby with black eyes and feeling terrified and in love at the same time. But that wasn't me. That was her. The other Sarah. The blood transfusion. Her cells. Her memories somehow. No, it's more than that. When I see him, when he's close, I can feel her. Sarah Matthews. She's in me, part of me. We're connected by more than blood. We're connected by loss. By the children we gave away. She literally, me through miscarriage. We're the same person, James. Different lives, but the same soul. Does that make sense? Nothing about this makes sense, I know. But I understand it anyway. Timothy, or what he's become, he needs both of us. Both Sarahs, the one who gave him away, and the one who can give him life again. And you look like his father. You're family to his father. You're the perfect daddy for his perfect return. That's insane. Is it? Look at the connections. The blood. The genetics. The timing. Even our house. What about our house? She looked at me strangely. You don't know? Know what? I've been having dreams. Not dreams. Memories. The house we bought. Someone died there. In 1997, April 4th, my blood went cold. That's not in any of the disclosures. It wouldn't be. It wasn't in the house. It was on the property before the house was built. The land used to be part of a farm. There was a barn. A pregnant teenager gave birth there alone. The baby survived. The mother didn't. How could you possibly know that? Because Timothy told me. He shows me things when I sleep. The girl's name was Amy Chen. No relation to his adoptive family, different Chens. But the coincidence drew him. He's been waiting in our house, in the land, for the right vessel to come along. And then we moved in. Me carrying Sarah Matthews' blood memories. You looking exactly like his birth father, carrying his genetic line. Are you saying our house is haunted? I'm saying our house is a doorway, and Timothy's been holding it open, waiting for the right key. We're the key, James. Our family, our genetics, our loss. We're the perfect recipe for his return. Dr. Chen, the medical Dr. Chen, came in then with more test results. The immunosuppressants weren't working. The chimeric cells were multiplying faster. Sarah's body was changing at a cellular level. We need to be more aggressive, he said. Chemotherapy might... No, Sarah said firmly. No chemo. Mrs. Mitchell, without treatment, these cells could overwhelm your system. I understand. But I'm not doing chemo. After he left, I turned to her. Sarah, this could kill you. Chemo won't stop him, James. This isn't medical. It's metaphysical. And I think I know what he wants. What? To be born, properly this time. Not given away, not dying in a car crash, not miscarried. He wants to be born to parents who want him, who'll keep him, who'll love him. Sarah, no. We can't. I'm not saying we should. I'm saying that's what he wants. And until he gets it, or we find another way, he's going to keep trying. Through me, through our children, through any bloodline he can access. Our children. Oh God, Lucas said he heard scratching in the walls. Sarah went pale. Call your mother. Check on them, now. I called Margaret. It rang several times before she answered, sounding groggy. James? It's early. Are the kids okay? Yes, they're fine. Still sleeping. Why? Just check on them, please. I heard her moving, doors opening. Emma's asleep? Lucas is. James, Lucas isn't in his bed. My heart stopped. What? Wait, I hear something. In the basement. Margaret, Don't go in the basement. Get Emma and get out of the house. Don't be ridiculous. I'm sure he's just Lucas. Oh my God, what are you doing? Margaret? Margaret! I could hear commotion. Lucas's voice, but strange. Deeper. Then Margaret again. He's digging in the concrete floor. His hands. James, his hands are bleeding, but he won't stop. He keeps saying, helping brother, come home. Get him out of there. Get both kids and leave now. I've got him. He just went limp, like he fainted. James, what is happening? Hospital. Bring them to the hospital. Now. I hung up and looked at Sarah. She was crying. He's using Lucas, she whispered. Our baby boy. He's using him to dig his way through. Margaret arrived within the hour. Lucas was conscious but dazed. His hands were bandaged. He'd scraped them raw on the basement floor, but not as badly as Margaret's panicked description suggested. Emma was scared, clinging to her grandmother. Daddy! Lucas reached for me. I had the strangest dream. There was a boy in my room. He said he was my brother. He said he needed my help to come home. It was just a dream, buddy, but my hands hurt. And I was in Grandma's basement. How did I get there? The doctor examined him. Physically, he was fine. The wounds were superficial, but they wanted to keep him for observation, given Sarah's condition and the unusual circumstances. Is it contagious? Emma asked. Always the practical one. What Mommy has? No, sweetie, it's not contagious. Then why is Lucas acting weird too? Kids, they see through adult lies so easily. I made a decision. Margaret, I need you to take the kids somewhere. Not your house, not our house, a hotel maybe. Somewhere without history. James, what is going on? Really going on? I looked at my mother-in-law. Sensible Margaret, who believed in church on Sundays and voting in every election and recipes passed down through generations. How could I tell her that her daughter was possessed by the memories of another woman's dead child? Something we don't understand yet. But the kids aren't safe in houses connected to our family. Please, just trust me. She must have seen something in my face because she nodded. There's a Holiday Inn near the highway. We'll go there. Don't tell anyone where you are. Not even me unless I call and say the code word. Code word? James, this is pineapple. The code word is pineapple. If I don't say that, don't tell me where you are. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but she agreed. After they left, Sarah and I were alone. She was sitting up in bed, staring at nothing. I need to go to the house, she said. Absolutely not. James, he's there. The real Timothy. Not these echoes and manifestations. His essence, his core, it's in our house. That's why he could reach Lucas. That's his seat of power. Then we're never going back. And leave him there? To wait for the next family? The next child he can influence? She grabbed my hand. We have to face him. Talk to him. Make him understand. Understand what? That he can't come back? That death is final. That what he's doing is wrong. You want to reason with a ghost? Not a ghost. A child. A lost, angry, desperate child who just wants his mother. Against every instinct, I agreed. Maybe because I was exhausted. Maybe because nothing else was working. Or maybe because part of me, the father part, understood that desperate need for family. The hospital wouldn't discharge Sarah, but she signed herself out AMA, against medical advice. Dr. Chen tried to convince her to stay, but she was determined. 24 hours, she told him. If I'm not back in 24 hours, send help. Mrs. Mitchell, I can't unofficially then, please. He nodded reluctantly. The drive home was surreal. Everything looked normal. Suburban streets, kids playing, people walking dogs, as if reality hadn't cracked open to reveal impossible things beneath. Our house looked the same as always. 2-story colonial, white siding, black shutters. The lawn needed mowing. Emma's bike was still in the driveway where she'd left it the day of her birthday, but it felt different, charged, like the air before a thunderstorm. Do you feel it? Sarah asked. I did. A pressure, a weight. The sense of being watched by invisible eyes. We went inside. The house was cold despite the October warmth outside. Our breath misted in the entryway. "Timothy?" Sarah called out. "We're home." Nothing. Then, from the basement, a sound. Scratching, rhythmic, deliberate. We went down. Each step felt like descending into a cave. The temperature dropped further. The scratching got louder. The basement was finished. We'd had it done when we moved in. Carpet, drywall, a play area for the kids. But in the far corner, where Sarah had been digging in her sleepwalking episodes, where Lucas had been scratching, the concrete was visible. And there was a hole, not deep, maybe 6 inches, but in that shallow depression was something impossible, a door. Not a physical door, but an opening. A place where the basement floor should have been, but wasn't. Looking into it was like looking into deep water at night. Dark, murky, with the suggestion of movement below. "He's down there," Sarah said. "He's been down there all along. Under the house, under the ground, waiting." As we watched, something rose from the darkness. A hand, small, child-sized, pale as paper. It gripped the edge of the impossible hole and pulled. Timothy emerged, not the flickering phantom I'd seen in the hospital. This was solid. Real. A boy of about 8, thin, wearing clothes that looked decades old. His face was Sarah Matthews' face, young and male. His bone structure was David Reeves'. His eyes were black holes in reality. "Mama," he said, looking at Sarah, "you came." "I'm not your mama," Sarah said gently. "Your mama is Sarah Matthews. She lives in Waterbury." "No." His voice was certain. "She gave me away. You kept me?" "For a while, inside, I remember. The miscarriage." He was talking about our miscarriage. "That wasn't you," I said. "That was our baby. Different baby." He turned those black eyes on me. "All lost babies are the same baby. We go to the same place. The place between, where we wait and wait and wait for our mothers to call us back. We didn't call you. She did." He pointed at Sarah. Her blood called. Her loss called. Every night at 2:17, she opened the door a little wider, let a little more of me through. I was sleepwalking. I didn't mean the body remembers what the mind forgets. Her body, the first mother's body, is in you. Her blood knows me, calls to me. "You are her, and she is you, and you are my mother, Timothy," Sarah said slowly. "You died 20 years ago. You can't come back, but I am back. I'm here. I'm talking to you. This isn't living. This is something else. You're caught between. We need to help you move on." His face contorted. "Move on? To where? There's nothing after the between place. Just nothing. Forever nothing. I want to live. I want to grow up. I want to be your son. You can't. It doesn't work that way." "It can." He was angry now. The temperature dropped further. Ice formed on the walls. "I just need a body. A vessel. Lucas would work. He's young enough. Weak enough. I could push him out, take his place. You'd never know the difference." "Don't you dare!" I growled, stepping forward. "Or Emma. Girls are easier, softer. I could be your daughter instead of your son. Stop it. Or..." He looked at Sarah's stomach. "I could wait. You could have another baby. Prepare a body specifically for me. Empty, waiting. I'd just slip in. Be born properly this time. That's not happening, isn't it?" He smiled. "Check your pocket, Daddy." I reached into my pocket, pulled out a pregnancy test. I hadn't put it there. It hadn't been there an hour ago. It was positive. I looked at Sarah. She was as shocked as me. Impossible. "We haven't. Not in weeks." "The body remembers," Timothy said. "And bodies can be convinced to create. I've been preparing her, changing her, making her ready. Our baby is already growing, empty, waiting, ready for me to step in." Sarah's hand went to her stomach. "No, yes, you can't stop it. It's already begun. In 9 months, I'll be your son." "Really your son? Born properly, kept, loved, named." "This is rape," Sarah said quietly. "You're forcing this on us. It's survival. It's my only chance. Please." Suddenly he was just a child again, scared, desperate. Please, I don't want to go back to the dark. I want to be nothing. I just want to live. Is that so wrong? The fight went out of me. Looking at him, this lost, frightened child, I felt only pity. It's not wrong to want to live, I said. But taking someone else's life, someone else's body, that is wrong. Then what am I supposed to do? He was crying now, black tears that hissed when they hit the floor. Where am I supposed to go? Sarah knelt down, reaching toward him but not quite touching. You're supposed to let go, move on, find peace. There is no peace. There's just the dark and the waiting and the hunger. Then we'll change that, Sarah said firmly. We'll help you find peace. Both of us, both Sarahs. We'll do what should have been done 20 years ago. What? We'll say goodbye properly, with love, the way a mother should. Both Sarah's? Timothy's black eyes flickered with something. Hope? Suspicion? It was hard to read emotion in those voids. I need to call her, Sarah said to me. Sarah Matthews. She needs to be here. She won't come. Why would she come to face this? Because she's been running from it for 27 years. And she's tired of running. I can feel it, her exhaustion, her guilt. It's in my blood, literally. I pulled out my phone, found Sarah Matthews' number, handed it to my wife. She dialed, put it on speaker. Hello. Sarah Matthews' voice was cautious. It's Sarah Mitchell. I'm at my house with James. Timothy is here. Long silence. Then, actually there? Physically? Yes, he's standing in our basement. He can hear you. Another pause. Timothy? My Timothy? Hello, First Mother. His voice was small, uncertain. I heard Sarah Matthews sob. Oh God, oh my God, you're really? I'm here. I'm still here. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I gave you away. I was 17. I was scared. I thought I was doing the right thing. I know, Timothy said. I've always known. But knowing doesn't make the hurt go away. Can I see you? Come, he said simply. Both mothers should be here for what comes next. Sarah Matthews arrived in 40 minutes. She must have sped the whole way. When she walked into our basement and saw Timothy, she fell to her knees. My baby. My beautiful baby. I'm not beautiful, Timothy said, those black eyes reflecting nothing. I'm wrong, broken. That's why the nurses were scared. Why the adoptive parents were scared? Why everyone was always scared. I was never scared of you, Sarah Matthews said. Never. I was scared for you. Scared of what the world would do to someone so different? Different. He laughed, a sound like wind through empty rooms. That's one way to put it. The two Sarahs looked at each other. My Sarah reached out her hand. Sarah Matthews took it. The moment they touched, something shifted in the air. The basement grew warmer. The ice on the walls began to melt. Do you feel that? My Sarah asked. Yes, it's like completion, like two halves becoming whole. Timothy watched them intently. You're the same person, different lives, but the same soul. That's why the blood called. That's why the transfusion worked. You can't transfuse memories unless the souls match. That's not possible, I said. James, my Sarah said softly. Look at us. Really look, I did. And for a moment I saw it. Not two women who looked similar, but the same woman reflected through different circumstances. Same soul, different stories. Quantum entanglement, Sarah Matthews said. That's what David called it. He said souls could split, live parallel lives, and sometimes, rarely, the parallels crossed. David knew? I asked. David knew a lot of things. That's why he was so insistent about keeping Timothy. He said our son would be a bridge between parallels, a living intersection of possibilities. But I died, Timothy said bitterly. Some bridge. You didn't just die, my Sarah said. You became something else, something that exists between parallels, between life and death, between what was and what could have been. I became nothing. I became hungry darkness waiting for a chance to live again. No, Sarah Matthews said firmly. You became potential, unrealized possibility. That's not nothing. That's everything that could be but isn't yet. Timothy tilted his head. Pretty words, but I'm still dead, still stuck, still trying to steal life from others because I can't have my own. What if you could? My Sarah asked. Not steal life, but have it given freely? You mean the pregnancy? You'll have the baby and let me take it? No, that's still stealing. That baby, if it's real, deserves its own life. Then what? The two Sarahs looked at each other, some silent communication passing between them. They nodded simultaneously. We give you what you've always wanted, Sarah Matthews said. A mother's love. Both mothers' love, freely given. Love doesn't make me alive, doesn't it? My Sarah asked. What keeps you here? What gives you power? It's not hate. It's not anger. It's love. Desperate, twisted, hungry love, but love nonetheless. Timothy was quiet for a long moment. Love hurts. It's all I felt for 20 years. Love for a mother who gave me away. Love for parents who died. Love for a life I never got to live. That's not love, Sarah Matthews said gently. That's longing. There's a difference. Then show me, Timothy challenged. Show me real love. Sarah Matthews stood up, walked toward him. My Sarah followed. They knelt on either side of him, this impossible child with his void eyes and his desperate hunger. May we? Sarah Matthews asked. Timothy nodded. They embraced him. Both of them. And the moment they did, light exploded from the point of contact. Not harsh light, but warm, golden, like sunrise through a window. The parallels, I breathed. They're all converging. This is what David saw, Sarah Matthews said. This moment. All possibilities meeting at a single point. Timothy was changing too, growing more solid and less solid at the same time. More real and less physical. I can see them, he said. All the lives I could have lived. Would have lived. Didn't live. He looked at Sarah Matthews. In one you keep me. We struggle, but we make it. I become a teacher. He looked at my Sarah. In another, you adopt me after my parents die. I grow up with Emma and Lucas as my siblings. He looked at me. In another, I'm your biological son, the one who wasn't miscarried. All real? I asked. All real. All happening. Just not here. Not in this parallel. Can you go to one of them? My Sarah asked. Choose a life where you survived? No, those Timothys are already there living their lives. I can't displace them. I'm the Timothy from the parallel where I died. That's my truth. Then what do you do? He smiled. A real smile, not the unsettling thing from before. I let go, finally, completely. I stopped trying to change my truth and accept it. But won't you just go back to the dark place? No, because now I know something I didn't before. The dark place isn't empty. It's full of all the possibilities, all the potentials, all the love that ever was or could be. I was just too hungry to see it. The golden light was growing stronger. Timothy was becoming translucent, but not in the ghostly way from before. He was becoming light itself. Before I go, he said, the pregnancy. It's real, but it's not meant for me. That child deserves their own life, their own story. My Sarah's hand went to her stomach. It's real? Real, but fragile. The changes I forced on your body, they might not hold. You need to see a doctor? A real doctor, not the emergency room. Someone who specializes in complicated pregnancies. Will the baby be okay? I don't know. That's not my story to tell. But whatever happens, it won't be because of me. I release any claim, any connection. He turned to Sarah Matthews. First mother, I forgive you. You were young. You were scared. You did what you thought was best. Timothy, I know. I've always known. You loved me enough to give me a chance at a better life. That's the greatest love there is. He turned to my Sarah. Second mother, thank you. For carrying my memory, even when you didn't know it. For opening the door, even though it scared you. For showing me what I really needed wasn't a body, but understanding. Finally, he turned to me. Protector Father, you stood between me and your children. That's what fathers do. That's what my adoptive father tried to do in the car accident. Protect me. He died trying. You live succeeding. Both are love. The light was almost blinding now. The basement walls were completely transparent. I could see infinite basements, infinite versions of us, all converging on this moment. I have to go now, Timothy said. but not to the dark place, to the light place, the place where all possibilities exist simultaneously, where every choice is made and unmade, where love doesn't hunger because it's already full. Will we remember you? Sarah Matthews asked, tears streaming down her face. How could you forget? I'm written in your blood, your cells, your choices. Every time you see a child with dark eyes, every time you wonder, what if? Every time you choose love over fear. That's me. That's us. That's all of us who were lost and found again. He was almost gone now, just an outline in light. One more thing, he said, his voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. The house, it's not haunted. It never was. It was just remembering. The land holds memories, birth, death, love, loss. Let it remember, but don't let it hunger. Fill it with new memories. Happy ones? Let Emma and Lucas laugh here. Let the new baby, if they come, cry and crawl and grow here. That's how you honor the past, by living fully in the present. The light reached a crescendo. Every parallel, every possibility, every version of Timothy that could have been appeared for just a moment. Teacher, doctor, artist, father, son, brother, all the lives unlived, acknowledged, and released. Then the light collapsed inward, not violently, but gently, like breathing out. After holding your breath too long, the basement was just a basement again. Concrete and drywall, and the lingering smell of fabric softener from the laundry area. The hole in the floor was gone, not filled, gone as if it had never been. The two Sarahs were kneeling on the floor holding each other, crying. I stood there, unsure what to do, what to say, what to think. Did that really happen? I finally asked. Sarah Matthews looked up. Check your phone, I did. The videos I'd recorded of Sarah's sleepwalking episodes were gone. Not deleted, gone, as if they'd never existed. But in their place was a single photo I hadn't taken. It showed Timothy as he might have been at 27. Handsome, smiling, normal eyes, standing between two women who looked like older versions of the two Sarahs. Happy, whole. A possibility realized in some other parallel. We should go to the hospital, my Sarah said. Check on the pregnancy. Make sure everything's okay. I'll drive you, Sarah Matthews offered. No, my Sarah said, standing up. You've done enough. Been through enough. Go home to your family. Hug your children. Live your life. But we'll stay in touch. We have to. We're connected now. Permanently. But right now, you need to be with your living children, and I need to figure out if I'm carrying one. Sarah Matthews nodded. They hugged one more time, not the desperate embrace from before, but something softer, more sisterly. Thank you, Sarah Matthews said, for letting me say goodbye properly. Thank you for sharing your blood, your memories, your son. Sarah Matthews left. My Sarah and I stood in our basement, in our house that suddenly felt lighter, cleaner, more ours than it ever had before. Are you okay? I asked. I don't know. I'm different. I can feel it. The chimeric cells, the memories that aren't mine, they're still there. But they're integrated now, not fighting. I'm Sarah Mitchell, but I'm also a little bit Sarah Matthews. Is that okay? You're you. However complicated that is, you're you. That's all that matters. She kissed me, then winced, hand going to her stomach. Hospital? Hospital. The pregnancy was real. 8 weeks along, which should have been impossible, given our recent lack of intimacy. The doctor called it a cryptic conception, rare but not unheard of. The baby was healthy, normal, no black eyes on the ultrasound, just a tiny flickering heartbeat and the promise of new life. The chimeric cells in Sarah's blood were still there, but stable. The doctors couldn't explain why they'd suddenly activated or why they'd suddenly calmed. They monitored her closely throughout the pregnancy, but there were no more episodes. No more sleepwalking. No more voices in the dark. Emma and Lucas came home. Lucas had no memory of the basement incident. Emma remained suspicious, but eventually accepted that Mommy had been sick, but was better now. Is the new baby going to be weird? She asked one day, watching Sarah's growing belly. All babies are weird, Sarah said. You were weird. Lucas was weird. Weird is good. I mean, weird like scary weird. Sarah and I exchanged glances. No, sweetie. This baby is going to be exactly who they're supposed to be. Nothing more, nothing less. The months that followed were simultaneously the most normal and most abnormal of our lives. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Sarah's pregnancy progressed smoothly. The kids adjusted to the idea of a new sibling. I got promoted to technical lead at work. We did normal family things, soccer practices, school plays, weekend trips to the apple orchard, but underneath, everything had changed. Sarah still had the chimeric cells. The doctors monitored them, fascinated by their behavior. Dr. Chen became something of a regular fixture, bringing colleagues to study what he called the most interesting case of microchimerism in medical literature. The cells shouldn't be this active, he explained during one visit. Foreign cells from a blood transfusion typically remain dormant, but yours are integrated into your neural pathways, your hormonal systems. It's like your body has accepted them as native. Is that dangerous? I asked, not apparently. If anything, she's healthier. Her immune system is more robust. Her hormone levels are perfectly balanced despite the pregnancy. It's unusual. That was the word for everything now. Sarah had started having what she called parallel memories. Not full visions, just flashes of lives that weren't quite hers. She'd know things she shouldn't know. Once at a restaurant, she greeted our waitress by name, a woman we'd never met, and asked about her sick mother. The waitress was stunned. They'd never met, but Sarah had remembered her from Sarah Matthews' life, from a different restaurant 20 years ago. The same soul in a different life, Sarah explained later. It's like Timothy opened doorways, she told me one night, lying in bed, her belly round with new life. Not just between life and death, but between parallels. I can feel them sometimes, all the different Sarahs living their different lives. Is it scary? Sometimes I see versions where we never met, where the kids were never born, where I died in childbirth with Emma, where you died in a car accident last year. All the ways things could go wrong, but also the ways things could go right. Yes, versions where we have 6 kids, where we win the lottery, where Emma becomes president and Lucas cures cancer. All equally real, all happening somewhere. How do you know which reality you're in? She placed my hand on her belly. The baby kicked, this one. The one where I can feel you, where I can feel this. Physical touch is the anchor. It's what keeps us in our specific parallel. December came. Sarah was huge, uncomfortable, but glowing. The doctor scheduled a C-section for December 20th. We didn't want to risk natural childbirth given everything that had happened. December 15th. Emma's Christmas pageant. She was playing an angel, complete with tinfoil wings and a crooked halo. Lucas was a shepherd, though he spent most of the performance making his stuffed sheep attack the other shepherds. Afterward, at the reception in the church basement, Sarah grabbed my arm. Something's wrong. Contractions? No, something else. Someone's here who shouldn't be. I scanned the room. Parents, kids, teachers, everyone normal, everyone belonging. Then I saw him, a man standing by the cookie table. Tall, thin, intense eyes. He looked exactly like me if I'd lived a harder life. Same face, but gaunt, marked by suffering. David, Sarah whispered. David Reeves. That's impossible. He died in 2007. That's a David Reeves, not ours. The man was walking toward us. Parents instinctively moved out of his way, though they didn't seem to really see him. He stopped in front of us, Sarah, he said, and his voice was like mine, but rougher. You're not my Sarah, but you'll do. You're from another parallel, Sarah said. It wasn't a question. Timothy opened doors. Most closed when he moved on, but some stayed cracked. I've been looking for him. He's gone. At peace. I know, I felt it. Across all parallels, I felt my son let go. He looked at Sarah's belly. That's not him. No, this is someone new. Good, he deserved peace. But I needed to see. Needed to know which parallel figured it out. Which version of us got it right. You're dead in this parallel, I said. I'm dead in most parallels. The knowledge I carried, the things I could see, it's not compatible with long life. The human mind isn't meant to perceive multiple realities simultaneously. It burns you out. He looked at me. You're not me. No, I'm James Mitchell. Sarah's husband in this parallel, but you have my face. My blooded distant cousin? Convergent evolution? Doesn't matter. You're raising my genetic line. That's all that matters, Emma ran over. Daddy, look. I got 3 cookies. She went right through David, not around through like he was missed. She didn't notice. Daddy? David said sadly. She calls you Daddy. Emma, go find Lucas, I said. Make sure he's not eating all the frosting. She ran off. David watched her go. Beautiful. In my parallel, I never had other children. Just Timothy. And I failed him. How? I tried to keep him. Fought Sarah, my Sarah, for custody. Made everyone's life hell. He grew up torn between us, belonging nowhere. He died at 16. Suicide. 2:17 a.m., Sarah gasped, hand on her belly. Every parallel where Timothy lives past 10, he dies at 2:17 a.m., David continued. Car accident, illness, suicide, murder, always 2:17 a.m., it's his number, his constant. The universe trying to correct itself. But he's at peace now, Sarah said. We helped him let go, in this parallel. But there are infinite parallels, infinite Timothys dying and refusing to move on. You solved one. The others continue. That's not our responsibility. No, it's mine. I'm the constant too. The father who sees too much, who knows too much, who opened doors that should have stayed closed. He started to fade. I have to go. The crack is closing. But thank you for showing me it's possible that at least one version of my son found peace. He was almost gone when Sarah called out, David, wait, are you at peace? He smiled sadly. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, between parallels, watching all the versions of what could have been. It's my gift and my curse. But knowing one timeline got it right, that helps. He vanished. The church basement was normal again. Kids hyped on cookies. Parents ready to go home. No one else had seen him. Are we going to keep having visitors? I asked. I don't know. Maybe. The doors Timothy opened. Some might never fully close. That night, Sarah's water broke. The C-section was moved up. Emergency surgery at 11 p.m. on December 15th. It's not 2:17 a.m., Sarah said as they wheeled her in. That's good, right? Breaking the pattern? Everything's going to be fine, I said, but I was worried. After everything we'd been through, a normal birth seemed too much to hope for. Dr. Morrison was there, along with the surgical team. They'd been briefed on Sarah's unusual condition, though not the supernatural elements. Just the medical oddities, the chimeric cells, the cryptic pregnancy, the hormonal anomalies. I sat beside Sarah's head as they began. The curtain blocked our view of the procedure. She held my hand, both of us tense. I can feel them, she whispered. Who? All the Sarahs. In all the parallels, some are giving birth right now. Some are losing babies. Some are having Timothy. Some are having someone else. They're all here, all overlapping. Focus on this one. Our baby, our parallel. I'm trying, but... She gasped. James, something's happening. The doctors were murmuring. Concerned tones. Dr. Morrison looked over the curtain. There's an anomaly. What kind of anomaly? The placenta. It's unusual. The structure is unlike anything I've seen. Is the baby okay? The baby appears fine, but the placental tissue, it's almost crystalline, like it's been mineralized. Sarah squeezed my hand. It's the chimeric cells? They changed things, made something new. We need to deliver the baby now, Dr. Morrison said, before whatever this is affects them. The next few minutes were a blur. Controlled urgency. Medical terminology I didn't understand. Then a cry. Not the thin wail of a newborn. A strong, clear cry, like a child who'd been crying for years and finally found their voice. "It's a girl," Dr. Morrison announced. But her voice was strange. Wondering, they brought the baby around the curtain. She was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a full head of dark hair. But her eyes were ancient. Not black like Timothy's, not void, but old. Like she'd seen everything, knew everything, and had chosen to be born anyway. "Hello, little one," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. The baby looked at her. Really looked. Focused in a way newborns shouldn't be able to. And she smiled. A real smile, not gas or reflex. "She knows us," I said. "She knows everything," Sarah replied. "All the parallels, all the possibilities. She can see them all. Is that bad? I don't know. Maybe it's evolution. Maybe it's what comes next. Children who can see all the possibilities and choose the best path." We named her Hope. It seemed appropriate. The crystalline placenta was sent for analysis. It contained structures no one could identify, organic but organized in patterns that suggested intelligence. Dr. Chen theorized it was a new form of microchimerism, where the foreign cells didn't just integrate but innovated, creating new biological structures. "It's like the cells remembered their purpose from another parallel," he said, "and built something that doesn't exist in our medical understanding." Hope came home on December 18th. Emma and Lucas were fascinated by her. "She's weird," Emma declared. "But good weird. She looks at me funny," Lucas said, "like she knows what I'm thinking. That's silly, buddy. She's just a baby," but Lucas was right. Hope did know things. She'd cry seconds before the phone rang with bad news. She'd laugh just before something good happened. She'd reach for people who needed comfort before they knew they needed it. Sarah's milk came in normally, but it was tinged slightly silver. The doctors were baffled, but could find nothing harmful in it. If anything, it was more nutritious than normal breast milk, containing proteins and antibodies that didn't exist in medical literature. "The chimeric cells," Sarah explained. "They're not just from Sarah Matthews anymore. They've evolved, incorporated Timothy's essence, the parallel memories, everything. I'm producing milk for a new kind of human. That sounds terrifying or wonderful. Evolution in real time. Humans who can perceive more, understand more, love more." Christmas came. We tried to maintain normalcy. Tree presents, turkey dinner. Margaret came over, still suspicious about everything that had happened, but unable to resist her new granddaughter. "She's special," Margaret said, holding Hope. "I don't understand it, but I can feel it." "All babies are special, Mom." "No, this one sees things. Knows things." She looked at us. "What happened while I was gone with the kids?" "What really happened?" We told her. Everything. Timothy, the parallel Sarahs, David Reeves appearing at the church. She listened without interrupting. "I should think you're insane," she said finally. But I was there. I saw Lucas in that basement. I felt something in that house. And this baby... She looked down at Hope, who was gazing back with those ancient eyes. "This baby is proof that the world is stranger than we know." That night, December 25th, at 2:17 a.m., I woke not to crying, but to singing. Soft, melodious, in a language I didn't recognize. I went to Hope's room. Sarah was already there, standing by the crib. Hope was awake, her eyes glowing softly in the dark, actually glowing. A gentle silver light. "She's singing," Sarah whispered, but not with her voice, with her mind. "Can you hear it?" I could. Not with my ears, but with something deeper. A vibration in my bones, my cells. It was beautiful and terrible and completely alien. What is she? She's what comes next. Timothy opened the doors between parallels. Hope can see through all of them. She's not bound to one timeline, one possibility. She can choose her path from infinite options. That's too much for a baby. Too much for anyone. Maybe. Or maybe it's exactly what humanity needs. Someone who can see all the ways things could go wrong and choose the path where they go right. Hope stopped singing, looked at us with those impossible eyes. and spoke. Not baby babble, a word. Clear and distinct, choose. 3 days old and she spoke. Choose what? I asked. She didn't answer. Just closed her eyes and went back to sleep. But I understood. Every moment, every decision, we're choosing between parallels, between possibilities. Most of us can't see the alternatives, so we stumble blind. But Hope could see, and maybe if we listened to her, she could guide us toward better choices. I'm recording this on October 15th, 2025. Exactly 1 year after Sarah's sleepwalking began. Hope is 10 months old now. Emma is 9. Lucas is 5. Sarah is something more than she was. We all are. I need to finish this account. Not because something terrible happened, quite the opposite, but because what's happening now is so far beyond normal that I need to document it while I still can. While I still remember what normal used to mean, Hope started walking at 6 months. Not the stumbling, furniture-grabbing walk of a normal baby. She stood up one day and walked perfectly, as if she'd been doing it for years. The doctors couldn't explain it. Her muscle development was normal. Her bones were still soft. By every measure, she shouldn't have been able to walk. But Hope doesn't follow the rules of what should be. She speaks now. Full sentences, complex thoughts, but only when she chooses to. Most of the time, she's silent, watching with those ancient eyes, seeing things we can't see. Last month, she drew a picture. Crayons on paper, normal toddler activity, except the picture showed our house, our family, and behind us, like shadows, dozens of other families. Other versions of us. Some had Timothy. Some had different children. In one, Sarah was alone. In another, I was gone. All existing simultaneously, layered on top of each other. That's us, she said, pointing to one particular family in the tangle. This timeline, this choice, and the others, are still there, always there, close but far, real but not. Emma and Lucas have started changing too. It began small. Emma knowing when it would rain hours before clouds appeared. Lucas finding lost things by walking straight to them, even things hidden in places he'd never been. It's Hope, Sarah explained. She's teaching them, not with words, with presence. She's showing them how to see beyond the veil. Is that good? I don't know. But it's happening whether we want it or not. Sarah Matthews visits once a month. She says being near Hope helps her heal. The guilt she carried for 27 years is fading. She can feel Timothy's peace across all parallels, she says. Hope shows her. Your daughter is a bridge, she told us last visit, between what was and what will be, between parallel and parallel. She's what Timothy was supposed to be if he hadn't been broken by death. She's just a baby. No, she's really not. 3 nights ago, at 2:17 a.m., because of course it was 2:17 a.m., I woke to find Hope standing in our bedroom, not in her crib, standing, watching us sleep. Hope? How did you get out of your crib? She tilted her head. I chose to be here instead of there. You? Walked? No, chose. This spot, this time, this parallel. It's all about choosing, Sarah woke up. Wasn't surprised to see Hope standing there. These impossibilities had become our normal. Show him, Sarah said. He needs to see. Hope walked to me, placed her tiny hand on my forehead, and the world exploded. I saw everything, every parallel, every possibility, every choice branching into infinity. I saw the timeline where we never bought the house, where Sarah never started sleepwalking, where we lived normal, boring, beautiful lives. I saw the timeline where Timothy succeeded in possessing Lucas, where our son became something else, something hungry and wrong. I saw timelines where we died, where we thrived, where we never existed at all, and through it all, like a thread of light, I saw hope, not just our hope, but the concept of hope, the possibility that exists in every parallel where someone chooses love over fear, connection over isolation, acceptance over rejection. Do you see? Hope asked, her voice layered with harmonics of 1,000 possible voices. Every choice matters. Every kindness creates a better parallel. Every cruelty creates a worse one. You're all choosing, all the time, which world you want to live in. It's too much, I guess. Too much to see, to know. That's why most can't, but some must. To guide, to choose wisely, to help others choose. She removed her hand. The infinite parallels collapsed back into one. Our bedroom, our life, our singular timeline. Why us? I asked. Why our family? Because you said yes. When Sarah started sleepwalking, you could have had her committed. When Timothy appeared, you could have run. When I was born different, you could have feared me. But you chose love each time. That choice opened doors. Doors to what? To becoming more. Humanity is evolving, Daddy. Not through genetics, but through consciousness. Learning to see beyond the veil. To make choices based on all possibilities. Not just the one in front of us, Daddy. She called me Daddy. For all her strangeness, she was still my daughter. I'm scared, I admitted. Good. Fear keeps you careful. But don't let it make you cruel. That's the choice? Always the choice? Yesterday we got a call from Dr. Chen. Other cases were appearing. Other children born with ancient eyes. Other families experiencing parallel bleed through. It started with us, with Timothy's door opening, but it was spreading. It's happening worldwide, he said. Children who know things, parents having shared dreams, people meeting themselves from other timelines. The barriers are thinning. Is it dangerous? Everything's dangerous. The question is whether it's necessary. Tonight, as I finish this recording, my family is asleep. Sarah pregnant again, naturally this time, planned, wanted. The ultrasound shows twins. Their eyes, even in the grainy image, seem knowing. Emma, who started writing stories about the adventures she has in parallel dreams. Lucas, who talks casually about his other families in different timelines. And Hope, who sleeps but doesn't really sleep, existing in multiple states simultaneously. I'm not the same man who started this account. That James was simple, logical, grounded in a single reality. This James has seen behind the veil, has touched the infinite, has learned that love transcends timelines and that consciousness is bigger than any one life. I don't know what comes next. Hope says the changes will accelerate. More children like her, more adults learning to see. Eventually, humanity will have to choose, evolve into something that can perceive and navigate multiple realities, or close the doors and remain limited to single timelines. Both choices continue, Hope told me. In some parallels, humans expand. In others, they contract. You get to choose which one you're in. I choose expansion. Despite the fear, despite the strangeness, despite the loss of normal. Because I've seen what Hope sees, that love is the only constant across all parallels. And love demands growth, change, evolution. Sarah just stirred in her sleep. Said a name, Timothy, but she was smiling. Wherever he is, in whatever place souls go when they let go of all parallels, he's at peace. His hunger ended. His story complete, our story continues. Stranger every day, more beautiful and terrible with each choice. The camera I'm recording with is glitching now, showing multiple versions of me, all recording their own final messages. Some are warnings, some are celebrations. All are true. In the version of this story you're hearing, we chose love. We chose expansion. We chose to evolve. But remember, you're choosing too. Every day, every moment. Which parallel do you want to live in? Which version of humanity do you want to be? Choose wisely. Choose with love. Choose knowing that somewhere, in some parallel, hope is watching. Waiting to see what you decide. This is James Mitchell. October 15th, 2025, 2:17 a.m., signing off. Recording ends with static, multiple voices speaking simultaneously, all versions of James saying goodbye in different ways. The static clears, showing the empty room, but in the corner, barely visible, a child's drawing of infinite families, infinite possibilities, all connected by threads of light. The recording you just heard was uploaded to a cloud server 3 weeks ago. James Mitchell and his family haven't been seen since, but they haven't disappeared. Their neighbors report seeing them just differently, sometimes alone, sometimes with children no one recognizes. Sometimes there, sometimes not, as if they're flickering between realities. Their house in Connecticut has become something of a phenomenon. People driving by report seeing different families through the windows. Sometimes the Mitchells, sometimes strangers, sometimes no one at all, though lights move through the rooms. But you can't suppress evolution. You can't contain consciousness when it decides to expand. The question is not whether James's story is true. The question is, if it is true, what does it mean for the rest of us? Are we on the verge of a new stage of human development? Or are we witnessing a form of collective madness brought on by a world that's become too complex, too connected, too aware of its own infinite possibilities? Perhaps the answer, like hope herself, exists in all states simultaneously. True and false, real and imagined, happening and not happening. And we, like James, must choose which version we want to live in. This has been After Dark Horrors. Thank you for joining us in the space between sleeping and waking, between the known and the unknown, between one reality and another. If you've experienced something that suggests the walls between worlds are thinning in your life, we want to hear from you. Send your story to us, but be warned, once you start seeing the parallels, you can't unsee them. Once you know about the choices, you can't stop choosing. And remember, every night at 2:17 a.m., the veil is thinnest. The doors open widest. If you're awake at that time, listening, watching, you might hear something calling. A child looking for their parents. A parent looking for their child. A version of yourself looking for a different choice. What you do when you hear that call? Well, that's your choice to make. Until next time, dear listeners, sleep well, dream deep, and remember, you're never alone. Across infinite parallels, infinite versions of you are making different choices, living different lives, telling different stories. The only question is, which story do you want to tell? This is Marcus, your guide through the darkness, reminding you that the scariest stories are the ones that might be true. Welcome to the dark, and goodbye. From all of us, in all timelines, simultaneously. Hope. Choose. After Dark Horrors, subscribe for more stories from the spaces between new episodes every week at 2:17 a.m. You seek.